What's a YouTube channel without a good clickbait video? I don't know. I had a question on Tumblr recently, and I was trying to figure out how to answer it and realized that I had a lot more on the subject to say than I could reasonably fit in a short response. But here is the question. The question is, how do you stay on top of so many projects? You're developing 3 that we know of games while on Twitter, Patreon, 2 Tumblrs, forums, and I'm assuming eating and sleeping. Like, how? I barely squeeze in time to brush my teeth in the morning. So that's a really good question. I think a lot of people can empathize with that concern. I have certainly been in the trenches of not feeling like I've had enough time. I'm by no means an expert at this. I feel like time management is actually a weakness for me, or at least it has been historically. But despite this not necessarily being a strength of mine, I realized as I was thinking about how to respond to this, I do have a number of tips that I've picked up and practiced over the years that I think actually many people could potentially benefit from. At its core, this question is an issue of 2 things. The first is time management, and the second, which is not so obvious here, is I think it is a question of energy. Energy is also a highly finite resource for people, some people much more than others. Anyway, something like that to me seems less of a matter of time and more energy and prioritizing. This video alone is not going to cover everything I could say about this question. This might end up being a multi-video deal here, because I've realized that I can talk about different things for managing time, energy, motivation, habits, etc. These are things that I've had to practice just making games myself over time. But for this video, we're going to focus on time management. I don't have any world secrets to share with you, but I do have a few tips that I apply and that I've found helpful. So here we'll talk about 5 of them. Number 1, sign out of your goddamn shit. Facebook, turn it off. Skype, close it. Discord, close it. Not minimize, close it. Phone, just toss it across the room. And put it on silent. Maybe just only put it on silent. That might be a safer idea. But seriously, minimize your distractions. Here's why. There is a psychological state, in which people who are productively working on something can get into, where it's really the only thing that they're focused on. This is a thing that people can do. It's called flow. If you look this up online, you will find lots of articles about flow and how to get into it and how to maintain it. One of the biggest things is minimizing social distractions. I notice with myself, if I so much as have Skype open and in the taskbar, I will click over that shit every 3 minutes or something stupid like that. Even if nobody's messaging me, I can see that nobody's messaging me, but it's just a habit for me to click on the Skype icon. So I get rid of it so that I can focus. I have found that I am a lot more productive when I have all of those things closed and out of the way. Twitter, no. Tumblr, go. And I can just focus on what I'm doing and get into that state of flow. And that's when the magic happens. It's a dopamine thing. If you haven't heard of dopamine, it's basically the chemical in the brain that is responsible for producing the feeling of fun or reward systems. Socialization for many people is fun. So when we're checking Twitter or Skype or whatever, we can get that dopamine rush from talking and having fun with our friends. When you put yourself on a mindset where you're constantly refreshing that dopaminergic reward, I think I said that right, then you're going to be looking for that more. When you can take yourself away from that, then you will be more inclined to focus. Tip number 2, I hate schedule. I recognize they can be very, very valuable for very many people. However, what I will do is I will schedule the things that I don't want to do. Because I know if I don't, I won't do them. For me, in Reborn right now, this is animation reviews. Honestly, they're not that fun to do. They're cool, and it's really important. A lot of people really enjoy those animations. However, it takes time to go through them, and man, I don't enjoy that time, so I procrastinate that time. For me, it helps to schedule this thing, the single thing that I don't want to do, because when I know that I have a time that I am going to do it, I can freely procrastinate that shit for the rest of the week. B, I can be sure it's going to get done. C, I'm like mentally prepared when it's time to do it. Like, okay, today's animation review day. Let's do it. Let's just get it over with. That's me every Friday. Fridays are my animation days, but it helps me stay on top of it, even though I don't necessarily want to do it. Maybe that can be true for other people. Number 3, if I just have a few minutes of downtime, whether I'm on the bus or in between League of Legends matches, or waiting for somebody who said they were gonna hit me up with something in a few minutes, I'll pull up graphic scale and just start spreading or mapping or on RMXP or whatever I can do for those few minutes. Honestly, it's less about time management, more about I get bored and distracted, so I might as well distract myself in a way that's productive. But I think that rings true for a lot of people. Another instance that is like while I'm waiting in line at the store, I was going to grab my phone and show you my flashcard app, but I chucked it across the room earlier. But I have flashcards on my phone, so if I'm just standing in line at the store, I'll start doing that. Or sometimes, like, honestly, as I'm walking from my room to the kitchen, I will do flashcards. It's only 30 seconds, but I can get like a handful of cards done in those 30 seconds. So why not take it? You might be asking, Hame, is this why you talk about running into things in your own home? The answer is yes. But the answer is also no, because I run into things in my own home even when I'm not doing flashcards. Anyway, 4. It is something I've heard called timeboxing. It's another strategy for tackling things that you don't necessarily want to do. And in my case, I use it for things that I want to do at some point, but I don't feel like it right now. Timeboxing is a sort of agreement with myself that I make where I say, okay, I don't feel like doing this right now, so I'm just gonna do it for 10 minutes and then I'll stop. This is a trap. I know this is a trap, but I fall for it. I let myself fall for it because it's a good trap to fall for. Because I start doing it for 10 minutes, and usually by the time 10 minutes has passed, I'm into it. And so I keep doing it and end up getting a lot of stuff done. On the other hand, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm really not feeling this right now. Cool, I tried. I did my time box. Set it aside for some other time when I'm feeling it. Number 5, I try to double up. Now, multitasking is bad, and you will hear many people who are very psychologically intelligent tell you that multitasking is bad, and they will tell you things about how everybody thinks that they are better at multitasking than they actually are. It does not matter how good you are at multitasking or not, because here is why. The part of your brain that processes language is completely different from the part of your brain that processes visual stuff. If I were a good psych major, I would be able to back this up by telling you which parts of the brain were responsible for each thing. However, I find structuralism and the anatomy of the brain to be incredibly boring, so I cannot tell you that. But this is something that I was told by some random high school teacher, a math teacher. What is a math teacher doing talking about psychology? But I found it to be very true and helpful for myself. I found that it's very practical to be, say, spreading or mapping while also listening to a lecture. So when I was in school, when I was in college, this is all I did. I'm not saying I was a good student. In fact, I'm saying I was a bad student. But setting that aside, I got shit done because I would be like just working on the games throughout my lectures, but I could still pay attention and take notes because as long as I was working on something like mapping, I could listen just fine. Language processing, listening. Mapping, visual. No like conflict of interest there. In fact, doing that kind of thing kept me awake. It's the same as drawing in class, I think, for a lot of people. Nowadays, I try and set it up so if I have a lot of mapping work to do, or spreading, or whatever, visual stuff, then I try and like pull up an audiobook or like a video tutorial. Like I've been listening to JavaScript tutorials for one of my other projects while I've been spreading and mapping for Reborn. To me, that's just a really efficient use of time and kind of a way around the pitfall of multitasking. So there's a few things. That's certainly not all I have to share, but that's all I'll put in this video. If you're interested in hearing more of this, let me know. Probably at least a video on maintaining personal energy and also changing and making habits work for you. Because that goes along with all the things that this person is asking. So thank you guys for watching, and I will be back another time.
Siberia.